Welcome everyone to our free talk today on how to become a doula. I'm going to share my screen here, and I am not sure if Zoom is doing a good job at, oh golly, we're like way at the beginning. Hold on, or way at the end. Here we are. Do you all see, hang on. Do you all see my screen? Is it
Yeah.
is it just the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll like share both sides. Okay, good. And I'm hoping that Zoom is doing a good job at blocking out sound because I live in New York City and it is a very noisy place. And I actually live on the street that goes between, I could look at Brooklyn, it's on that side of the street. I'm on the Queens side of the street, but the street that goes right in front of my window is also the ambulance route. So we do have sirens occasionally. So I apologize if it gets noisy at any point. Um, Usually Zoom does a pretty good job blocking out extra noise, but I just had something go by. So that reminded me to apologize ahead of time for any noises. All right, let's go. So a day in the life of being a doula, what is it really like? So our philosophy when we are teaching you how to be a doula at Maternity Wise, obviously, we really work hard on helping you to prepare your clients. So that is the number one way you're going to make the most impact with your clients is to prepare them. And this is all about educating, right? Because if you are educating them and you're giving them knowledge that they can use, then they will be more empowered to make good decisions for themselves and not feel coerced or bullied or pressured to make a decision based on a lack of information, right? So it's really all about informed consent. And we can help provide that, even though that's not always a goal, or I wouldn't say it's not a goal. It's not always acted out perfectly in a hospital setting. So being able to inform our clients ahead of time helps them to either consent or decline procedures when they come up. And in the moment, if you haven't spent a lot of time with your client ahead of time, in the moment, they may look at you and be like, what should I do? But we can't tell them what to do. What we can do, though, is to educate them so that they can make decisions for themselves. So preparing your client is the number one way to help them to have a informed, empowered, and just all around good birth experience and be able to make decisions for themselves and for their babies without feeling like they're, pushed into it. The next thing that we work on teaching you is how to systemize your business. Now, if you work for an agency or you decide not to work for yourself, or you're doing this like in maybe a ministry type setting, you'll still have something of a system. But if you're working this on your own and this is going to be your own independent business, you'll definitely need some help with kind of systemizing and creating a flow and creating a process for your clients. This is important, and I learned this early on and I've been, by the way, my name is Anne, and I am the doula trainer, director of Maternity Wise. I'm the mom doula over here, one of the Maternity Wise mothers. We call ourselves us founders, and I learned this the importance of systemizing your business early on because I was seeing clients. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I was seeing clients and finding later, when it was a little too late, that I was missing information. I would be maybe seeing 3 or 4 clients in a week and thinking that I had told all of them all the same stuff, right? But then we would get into a birth situation and they would look at me and they'd say, "What do you think I should do?" And I would turn to them and be like, "Well, remember we talked about da 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 da," and they'd look at me like a deer in the headlights going, "I don't remember talking about that." And I was like, "Oh no." Because in the moment is not a great time to be trying to educate your clients on basic things like maybe the pros and cons of breaking your water or whatever. So I decided, okay, I need to create some kind of system, some kind of checklist to make sure that at each prenatal visit that I'm having with my clients, that I'm covering specific things to make sure that they feel informed, right? And so we will teach you how to systemize your business. And then obviously we want you to know your stuff because in the moment, um, things might come up that you have to troubleshoot. And if you don't really know a very comprehensive, perspective on maybe the medical way of doing things and the natural way of doing things and how they can work together, it's going to be confusing for you. You might feel like you lack confidence. Um, and it's just not a very good way to support clients if you are feeling like, I don't know this, right? So, knowing your stuff, and our program is very, very comprehensive in that way because of that, for that reason. Uh, I'm just going to make my gallery a little smaller so I can see the whole slide here. All right, so our philosophy obviously is very well rounded. Um, Families want you to have all the answers. When you have developed a relationship with them, they know that they can reach you day or night. And sometimes after the birth, they're like, they're having questions and they can't get a hold of their OB, or they're just getting a nurse's line, which is kind of telling them this pat answer, that might not be personalized or might not take into account like their experience. But they know that they can reach out and get a hold of you right away. And so even if you aren't trained in lactation or in postpartum care, they're going to expect you to have the answers anyway. And so, one of the things that makes you a great doula is when you have that well rounded understanding of how all of it plays into each other, right? And so, our training typically, we try to do the majority of what we try to do is, a combo format. So, labor, postpartum, and lactation. It's really smart for you as far as your business because you're already talking to your target market, but it also is important for your clients because they're getting, information that they know is evidence-based. Um, it's so hard right after you have a baby, and maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. It's so hard right after you have a baby to kind of be shuffled around to different caregivers who don't know your whole story. And as a doula who works with your clients from pregnancy through their birth experience, through postpartum, and then through lactation, if that's what they choose to do, it's just so much better care. That continuity of care is there. And families look for that. They want kind of a one-stop shop, right? And you can be that one-stop shop. The other thing is that you become the community's go-to person, knowing that, oh, well, my doula, she's got the answers for all these things. Whether or not you have training, like I said before, they're going to expect you to have the answers. And I can tell you from my own experiences when I've worked with families who maybe I'm coming into it just for their postpartum or just for their lactation. Um, Sometimes doulas who are not trained in those things don't give the right answers or give conflicting answers. And if you've ever had a baby, you know that if you've ever had a baby in a hospital, I should say, you know that the typical kind of conveyor belt medicine that we see in a hospital setting, they may have three or four or even five different nurses over the course of their postpartum or postnatal care. And they might receive four or five different kinds of advice on their care, on breastfeeding, on baby care. And that gets confusing. It gets overwhelming. But when they reach out to you and they can get, sensible, logical information that's tailored to their situation, they're going to feel more comfortable. And so it's really important that we are able to provide evidence-based information and also know our scope, right? And so what that means is we're educating them so that we're not diagnosing and prescribing, but they can kind of hear what we have to say, understand the situation, and make choices for themselves about what they think's going on, as well as what to do about it. And that is where we come in, is giving them that information so that we're not just saying, oh, do this or do that. We're giving them a whole scope of information that applies specifically to their situation. And so that's what makes you so very valuable. Now, it's also best care practice, right? You're seeing the end from the beginning and vice versa. Um, I used to joke and say that the postpartum doulas, because I did a lot of postpartum doula work when my big kids were little. I have adult kids now, but when my big kids were little, I would go into postpartum homes and I felt like I was kind of picking up the pieces, right? And not always knowing exactly how their birth went, or maybe their birth went a certain way and the way that their perception of it is kind of different from what actually went down. And so not really understanding or knowing from the beginning, it's hard to really help your client sometimes. And so that continuity of care is really important. Also, you're speaking to your target market. And so when your clients come to you for labor, they may then want to hire you also for postpartum and for lactation. And then we also have other, services, or other, I shouldn't say services, other certifications and other classes and other courses that you can take, like the infant sleep solutions class, um, like HIPAA. We have a class on insurance billing. Like we have anything that touches maternity, we're really on it. And so you're not having to refer people out, and you're not losing that income to referrals. You're able to keep people in-house. You're able to support them. They know you, they trust you, they're going to come to you for the answers, and you can be that person for them, which is much better for them, but also good for your business. Now, the process of certification. So we have three different kind of tracks, right? So the assignments are the same for all of these tracks, but there's three ways to get your workshop. So the workshop is one assignment that you have to complete. And the in-person track means that you're going in person to a workshop. The virtual track is where you're attending a virtual live workshop. It's usually a workshop that's being held somewhere, and then you are in the room on the Zoom with the students that are in the room. And so it's very interactive. We have trainers that are in the Zoom with the Zoom people, and then we have trainers obviously that are in the room with the room people, but we're all interacting. Everyone gets a turn. It's kind of like you're just in a chair in the room connected via your computer, but you're still interacting with everyone. We make even the like physical aspects, we have figured out a lot of different creative ways to keep the virtual people um, engaged, but also practicing some of the things. So you can be doing things, checking your own anatomy. When we're going over pelvic anatomy, you can feel on your own self, or you can pull somebody in from your house. But there's different ways that we keep our virtual people really engaged. So that's a great way. If you can't make it to a workshop that's in person, that's a great way to knock out your workshop over the course of a weekend, but also feel like you have this, sense of, I've been there, I've got this community I'm building, I've got these peers that I have a relationship with now. And it's a really great way to get involved, that is not a self-paced way. And that's our third way, is the self-study track. And so that is a pre-recorded workshop. You'll get it. It's 27 hours. You'll be, you'll be able to start it, stop it, and just keep going and plugging along. But it's not over the course of a weekend. That is, taking place live. You will still be assigned a mentor. You'll still have the peer support, the weekly study groups, the Facebook private group we have, all of that. But you're on your own schedule. And that works really well for like people that are working full time, or people that are trying to step into this business but have other obligations during the week. Our typical workshops, when they're live, are usually a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the next virtual live that's actually coming up is December. No, no, no. March. So it's just in a couple of weeks. It's just a couple weekends away. So if that is something that you're interested in, I would say jump in there and get a seat in that virtual workshop quickly, because it will close. I believe it's going to close on Sunday night, this coming Sunday. All right, so your assignment checklist. In order to complete your certification, don't let this overwhelm you. It's just one step at a time. You will be able to complete it all. Most people get it done within 2 to 3 months if they set aside time every day to work on it. But you have to do your workshop. You'll go through a difficult scenarios call. The difficult scenarios call is all about like sticky situations, and perhaps that have maybe a legal aspect to it. So we go over things like that to help you to think ahead, so that if you find yourself in a sticky situation, you know what to do. And then you'll also have an e-class, which is by Enjoy. That's kind of like a foundational childbirth education type class. It's online. You can access it 24/7. And that and so you'll have the e-class and an orientation video to watch before your workshop. Quick and easy to get through both of those. The difficult scenarios call is typically an hour for labor, an hour for postpartum, an hour for lactation. So depending on where and when you want to get those done, you would participate in those. Those take place usually monthly. Then you also have books to read. So for the labor program, there's 3 books. One of those books is very small. Another one of those books is mostly illustrations because it is all about body posture and how the bony structure and the soft tissue structure work together. So there's a lot of images in that. And then the third one is a great book. It's Ina May Gaskin's Guide to Childbirth. And the first half of that book is all positive birth stories, and it's so much fun to read. The second half, you're going to feel like a mini midwife when you're done reading it. The 2 books for postpartum, one is all about baby and bonding and all that good stuff. And the other one is what I am starting to consider the Bible for postpartum doulas. It's called The Next Level Postpartum Doula. It's really, really good. The third one, or the third program that we have that we're talking about today is the lactation. And there's 3 books for that. One of them is a little more spendy. The other books on the list are all 20 or something dollars or less. Usually you can find them. Some of them are even under 10. The lactation books as well, usually $20 or less. You can find them online. There is one book that's a little more, but it is definitely worth it to have it in your library. The next thing that you need to do is your writing assignments. So your writing assignments include an exam, which is an online exam. It's 50 questions. You have unlimited amounts of times that you can take the exam, but you have to pass it with an 85% pass rate. You will be told how to answer all these questions, so take good notes during your workshop. But that, and then you have so when you go through your books, you'll be writing reviews on your books. And the book reviews are so simple. It's like, I believe it's 3 questions. One is, tell us the main themes of the book. The next one is, what did I learn new from the book? And then the third question is, how will this book impact the way I'm caring for clients? So simple. Your opinion papers are it's basically just on the role. So your role as a postpartum doula, your role as a labor doula, and you're just writing your opinion paper on that. The anatomy terms, also very simple. You will know the answers to all of the anatomy terms by the time you're done with your workshop and with your reading. That again, very quick and easy. And then your essay questions, there's just a few of those, and they're really more about how you are planning to operate as a doula, um, how birth or breastfeeding impacts society. So your essay questions don't have to be super, super, super long. You don't have to be like intro, body, and conclusion. No, just tell us what you know. And that could take 1 paragraph, it could take 4 paragraphs. It just depends on how involved the question is and how passionate you might be about the answer. And so you might have more to say on one question than you do another, and that's totally fine. But your essay questions, again, very easy. Those assignments, you're going to write those and zip them up in a PDF, like save them all as PDFs and zip them up into one file, and then that you will submit to the credentialing team at the end of your exam. So when you go to take your exam, you want to make sure you have all your written work done too. And then finally, you will support 3 families through whatever phase that you're getting certified in, and you're going to obtain evaluations. You can either get written evaluations from them, or you can send them to a link online and they can fill it out for you there. The next question that we often get asked, I'm actually going to fast forward and I'll come back to that. The next question that we often get asked about the evaluations is, how am I going to get these people, right? So I like to explain that finding versus being found. So my little joke is, you can chase down all the pregnant people at the grocery store. That doesn't mean they're going to hire you. But if you are where they're looking when they start looking for a doula, That is going to help you to be found. And so there's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of ways to be found. Community. So networking and word of mouth, those are really, really great ways. When you initially get through your worksheet, or sorry, your workshop, you will do something that we call share your journey. And that is an activity that um, we give you a script for it. So you're just going to edit it to make it sound like you and make it work for you. But sharing your journey on social media is a free and really, really amazing way to get clients. We regularly, if you do it, you will get clients in. We regularly at workshops, we have you do one each day. And usually by the third day, people have got all three of their clients lined up. We've had people that had 5 people by the second day, like lined up to take, to use their services. So when you're getting your evaluation clients, you can do it for free. It's not required, but it's there and you can if you want, or do it for cost, but that's a really quick and easy way to get people in. All right. And then also supporting each other, getting to know people in your community and letting them know, hey, I'm becoming a doula and I would love to have your support. And if you have any overflow, send them my way. But also making sure that you have the right mentality. There are plenty of people out there that need a doula, and we don't need to have a scarcity mentality. We want to have a blessing mentality, and that is that we are a conduit, right? People come to us, we give them the knowledge that we can give them. They move on, they're going to impact their core group, and that is going to impact society as a whole. And that is that's the big game plan, right? Is that ripple effect of the positive impact that we can have as doulas. The other thing that I recommend too is just digital positioning. And I know I talked a little bit about that already with, having your share your journey activity. But also if you have a website, if you have online social presence, either, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're comfortable with, online social presence is a really great way to spread the word. And it's free. And then there's also directories out there. One that we really like is Doula Match. And also participating in groups. So getting involved in groups like on Facebook, like mom groups or local groups, and just being able to be a resource there, not necessarily going on and being like, hey, I'm a doula, hire me, but hey, I'm a doula, let me answer that question for you. And making yourself a valuable resource to your community, that will get people to come to you and that will get people to talk about you and refer people to you as well. So let's back up really quick. Ay, ay, ay. Here we go. So other logistics that you're probably wanting to know. The pricing. So our current combo pricing, this is for labor, postpartum, and lactation, is $975 for the self-study. That's the one with the pre-recorded workshop. For our virtual lives, they're typically between $1275 and $1375, just depending on what time of year and who's in it and what's going on with it. Sometimes we have extra things happening, and so it might be a little higher. The in-person, depending on location, again, you're getting all 3 of your certification workshops done, and it's between $1475 and $1875, again, depending on location. So for example, Detroit might be less than Hawaii, for for example. It's, pretty clear why that might be. How long will it take? A lot of people have this question. Typically 27 hours is your workshop. It's a 9-hour workshop day, usually 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that includes a working lunch, but 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, typically. And then depending on how fast you read, the reading for all of it will take you between 60 and 70 hours. And then your writing might take you between 10 and 15 hours. Again, please don't let this overwhelm you because you're going to take it one step at a time, and before you know it, you'll be done. So your difficulty level, this is a comprehensive program, and it is really challenging to kind of explain the difficulty or even the value of the education that you're going to get. I can give you a little example though. We have had a lot of students who come from other organizations and they are shocked at the amount of information that we provide. And I've even had obstetricians come through our program that are like, all through medical school, I was told to memorize, A plus B equals C. But coming through this training, now I understand why A plus B equals C. And so we are really like the education piece is our heart and soul. And so we are really, really committed to making sure that you have all the education that you need to be a very, very good care provider. You are not going to just walk into labor doula client, experiences and hold a hand or rub a back. You are going to have so much more understanding about how the mechanics work, about maternal fetal positioning, about the ability to create progress, about how the placenta is functioning. You're going to also know about any recent fads and trends of, maybe induction excuses that are going around. So you're going to have a lot of information that you will be able to really help your clients with. And you have so much support. You have mentors, you have your study groups, you have the Facebook group. There is a lot of support there. So education doesn't just stop with your workshop and your reading books and all that. Your education continues on and that support continues on. And we have additional members only at free educational opportunities. I'm super excited about it actually. We're going to be doing a placenta discovery call where we are going to be looking at a placenta, a real placenta. It'll be a Zoom call. It's going to be free to our members. But we'll be taking apart a placenta and really looking at it and really, you know, figuring out how does this work? What are the different pieces? What does this mean? And examining a real live placenta. So that's super exciting. But like I said, we have a lot of different learning programs and a lot of different learning opportunities for our students and for our members. So why would you choose Maternity Wise? Obviously, I can go on all day because I really believe in Maternity Wise, and I think that you guys will too once you join us. But it's an international board certification. That is the highest standard that you can have in an unregulated industry. And we are an independent certifying body, which means that when clients are asking about your certification, they can know and find out that, you have accountability. You have an overarching, organization that's behind you, that's going to support you, but that they can also go to if they have questions or a grievance or something that they need a solution for. And that gives families the feeling of trust, and the feeling of, that you are trustworthy. Now, we are also approved in all states where there is any Medicaid program that there's, TRICARE is approved in all, we're also TRICARE approved in all states where Medicaid programs exist. We are recognized globally. We have students all over the globe. You name it, we have a student there. It's been really amazing and fun to hear about stories from all over the world. And that also informs our curriculum because America, sorry guys, but we aren't getting it right here, if you haven't noticed. So there's a standardized curriculum that we have. Most other organizations do not have a standardized curriculum. They have like a checklist, and then each trainer can say what they want to say about those items of information. That's not always helpful. And I've been through multiple other organizations' trainings, and I can tell you, it's so hit or miss. Some are really abysmally terrible, and I feel sad afterwards that I spent the money on it. But then there's a few that are pretty good. But ours, honestly, nobody has the amount of information and the amount of, ongoing education that we have. The next thing that I would say is we are obviously evidence-based education. Science is very important, but also we do want to lean on and really encourage our clients to trust their intuition. And so not only are we evidence-based, but the things that haven't been proved by evidence yet, because there are some things out there that have been proved by evidence, yay, and science, yay. But when there's a gray area, we want you to help your clients to trust themselves because no one is an expert on their body and their baby like they are. So, evidence-based information constantly updated and refreshed. We have, like I've said multiple times now, we have mentors and ongoing support in many forms. And then I joke around, we're not a cult. There are organizations out there that, you'll hear about it where they're like, if you're not one of us, you're not a real doula. Or, if you train with anybody else, then you've betrayed your training organization. We're not like that at all. We really believe that the more education you have, the better. And we're not gonna, penalize you or tell you that you have to only ever be a maternity-wise doula because that's silly, right? And we need unity, and division is the thing that has caused a lot of problems already in the medical industry. So unifying all doulas everywhere is so, so important. We've been around since 2002. Um, I know that there was some kind of rumor out there recently that said that we just started in 2022. Not correct. We've been around since 2002. We started out doing postpartum doula training and then branched off into labor and then lactation and the epidoula program, which is all about how to reduce complications when someone uses an epidural. Um, but we have a lot of programs like the epidoula that are not available elsewhere. In fact, I've been through many doula trainings where they kind of just poo-poo the idea of you getting an epidural. And then the problem becomes that you don't have the skills when your client does use an epidural, you don't have the skills to help her at that point. That becomes a problem because a lot of people are using epidurals now, and we need to be able to support those people too. The other thing that we are really, really passionate about is your business startup and growth. And we realize that unless you're successful, we're not successful because our whole reason for existing is to empower and educate and equip you to be able to get out there and make a difference. And if you aren't doing that, then we have failed. And so we really take that to heart. And we have one rule. And our one rule is kindness first and always. And that is again, a very important part of how we do everything at Maternity Wise. So this is a very small list of people who are on staff who are by your side all the way through your process. Me, hi. And then Stephanie, Chayla, Amber, Catherine, Natalie, Megan, Rachel. You'll probably, once you get started with Maternity Wise, you'll probably have interactions with Chayla and Natalie first. And then once you join the Facebook group, you'll see Rachel. She's the Facebook manager. And then who knows where you branch off from there. When you do go to do credentialing, you will meet up with, well, not meet up with, but you'll be communicating with Catherine and Megan and Amber. And those are the people that are on our credentialing team. If you ever have a question, always just reach out. We have comment boxes or question boxes on every page of our website, so you can always ask questions there. And then you may get a text from Natalie or Jayla saying, hey, saw that you had a question, here's your answer. And so we just feel like texting is a very sorry, my phone just had an alarm. We feel like texting is a very quick and easy way to get you your answers and to continue a dialogue. So if you don't want to be texting, that's perfectly fine. We can email you as well, but you might get a text from us, and that's why. So here is another way to get in touch with us. This is the number that's probably going to be texting you, but you can also go on our website and, like I said, find a box anywhere on the bottom of any page to ask us questions. And so let me stop sharing, and then you guys can jump in and ask me any questions that you have. Does anybody have any questions that you want to follow up from I know I just probably gave you like an overwhelming amount of information, but if you have questions, please ask.
I have a question. Where did you get your training from?
Ooh, that's a great question. So my training, I'm not going to name any doula training organizations because I don't want to badmouth anybody, but I did get my training initially from one of the larger organizations, actually two of the larger organizations right off the bat back in 20 back in 2001, and then another in 2004, 2005. But I would not recommend those organizations because they're not. I felt like there was some micromanaging going on. There was some other things going on, and I didn't feel like my education was very adequate. But also, back even before that, I was in midwifery training. And so I'm actually a trained midwife, and I can't practice here in New York because they have different laws from where I got trained. But so my education is more of a midwifery background. And that's part of the reason why our curriculum, and so is Amber's, and so was Emily's, and so in April's, and we were the original founders and we were the ones who wrote most of the curriculum. And so our background is really from that mindset. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, you also said that you'd taken additional training. Have you like gone through these other programs just to see what they're like?
I have. And again, like I'm not going to name names because I don't want to speak badly or poorly about other organizations, but there are several that are pretty popular for being lower cost. And they are lower cost for a reason. The level of education that you get and lack of support was a big issue. Um, but yeah, I think I've probably been through, let me think, I've been through 5 different organizations. And there's only one that I would say is pretty good, but they don't offer everything that we offer. And their credentialing process is a little complicated compared to ours. We try to make everything as smooth and easy as possible. And when you get our certification packets, you'll see what I mean because it's really so clear. It's like step 1, do this, step 2, do this. And one of the reasons why we do things the way we do is because not only because because not only just me, but like Amber and some of the other trainers, we've all come from different backgrounds and we've all experienced other organizations. But we also listen to our members. So when they come to us and they say, oh, I trained with this other organization, but I really need my certification and I just don't feel right getting it through them, we find out like, okay, so what was it that you felt was lacking? And we want to make sure that we're doing it right. And so a lot of our, and we're flexible in the way that we create our curriculum and the way that we support our client, our students, right? We feel like we're doulas to the doulas. That's kind of our mentality. And so we want to know how can we be the best? And we're constantly asking our membership that, like, what do you need? Let's fulfill those needs because we really want our program to be, you know, a model for how you support your clients moving forward. We want to support our students in the same. I
Mm.
hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. One other question. So you said that you're international board certified. Is there like a certification process that is the same for everyone, no matter where you get your training?
No, and this is why I say this is like it's the highest process that you can get or the highest standard you can get in an unregulated industry. So at this time, even though there are states that are creating their own kind of minimum guidelines, um, even then, like you don't have to be certified to be a doula. You do if you want to take advantage of, insurance reimbursement, Carrot, TRICARE, Medicare, or if your state has like a state registry that recognizes specific doulas in their state, you would want to make sure that your application, and your credentials meets those guidelines, and we do. We are above and beyond the requirements of all the state guidelines. We always have been, but is there some kind of like overarching regulatory agency? No. That's a good thing. It's kind of tough though, because then, you can have there's that means that there's programs that exist that are like $95. You go online, you watch a few videos, and they'll send you a certificate, right? Or you can download a certificate. And those training programs obviously are very poor and not good quality education. And and unless you get into the program and you see everything that you're getting, it's really hard to judge one from another. And that is why, it's not great. But
Mhm.
at the same time, the people who would create the regulatory, standards and the guidelines are oftentimes the people that are, you know, maybe the reason why doulas exist and why we need doulas. Because when you have like nursing associations or obstetrician associations saying this is what doulas roles are and this is what doulas should be doing, that limits our ability to actually be effective in our role. And we don't want to be limited in that obviously we have a scope of practice that says we don't do medical things and we're a team player, but we don't want someone saying, oh, you're not allowed to teach nutrition, or oh, you're not allowed to, massage your client, or oh, you're not allowed to do acupressure, because those are some of the magical skills that make doulas so valuable, right? And so it's important that we have autonomy as doulas in this unregulated industry, but at the same time, it can be tricky for someone who's a consumer looking for a good quality program because you just don't know. You don't know what you're getting until you're in it.
Hmm. Yeah. So, and then in terms of getting like the state regulations, is that something that you would educate us on? Like if, in Illinois, like you're going to help me know like what I need to do to be registered or whatever.
Yes, and if you want to take it a step further, so we have a program. Well, I don't want to call it a program. We have like a Google Doc that we share with all of our members that tells them, and we have someone who's on staff that is her whole job, is to stay on top of what is each state doing, because as of 2025, every state should is supposed to have some form of Medicaid reimbursement for doulas. And so Sarah's entire job is to keep that updated. And so under each state, you can see, okay, if you're in this state, go here, do this, here's the link, here's the regulations, here's your next step. And so each state, we provide that information for our students. The other thing that's interesting though about all of this is that once you get certified, and as states are like some states don't even have this set up yet. Like Hawaii is still working on theirs, Texas still working on theirs. So there's several states that have not met this requirement yet. But because we are on top of it, you don't have to be. So this is what I'm saying. Like Sarah's whole job is to be making sure that she has, everybody's information for their state up to date. And she's constantly keeping track of who's working on theirs, who's in progress. And then if you wanted to use, let's say, Carrot, or you wanted to do, private pay reimbursement. I mean, I've been doing private pay reimbursement for decades, even before any of this was kind of out there. But now doulas have their own CPT codes. We have, ways of helping our clients to get reimbursement and putting it in the right documentation and making sure that everything is the way that their insurance company needs to see it. And we have a class that is just specific for that. And so one of our trainers, Megan, she was on that slide earlier. She's part of the credentialing team as well. She actually teaches, she used to be a medical biller. And so she actually teaches how to, you know, if you're going to do a deep dive into insurance processing for doulas, that class would be a great one to take. And that helps you to know, like, what do I need to do? What kind of forms? What is a SOAP note? Like, all the things that you need to know in order to be able to do that. When you work with Medicaid, oftentimes the state will give you all the forms and the information that you need. But doing the private pay and doing the carrot and all that, those can be more confusing. And so we do have help with that. And everyone's assigned a mentor. Every single student who comes through our program is given a mentor that you're connected with. And those people are going to be able to help you with all these things as well. So really specific information, on you and your state, they'll be able to point you in the right direction.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Can I actually jump on what you just said?
Mhm.
Are the mentors all online, or do you have local mentors, or how does that work?
That's a great question. So depending on where you are, if you go
Mhm.
to an in-person training and your trainer is local, then your mentor is your trainer. And so
Okay,
like here in New York City, if you were to take my training, I would become your mentor. And
right.
occasionally, occasionally, I have clients who will let my students, I'll be able to take a student with me for prenatals or for whatever. The other thing that's kind of fun though is in our Facebook group, a lot of us as trainers, and I do this occasionally, I just did it 2 weeks ago. Um, we can do like a play by play, and I'll do my notes as I'm at a workshop, or I'm sorry, as I'm at a labor, and I'll kind of say, okay, mom's 5 centimeters, we're pushing now, whatever it is. And I'll kind of write out my play-by-play of this is what's going on and this is how I'm helping her, so that our students, no matter where they are, can kind of read through the play-by-play of what is a doula actually doing at the birth, and when this
Yeah.
comes up, what is the doula doing? And so that can be really helpful too.
And another question is, do you give the book list before the actual in training? Because
We can.
I did register, and I was just curious if I would like to get the books ahead of time just to like have them. But I
Oh,
was curious, yeah, when you actually get the list or
so if you sign up for a live workshop, you'll
yes.
get all the materials the week before the training.
Okay.
Usually like whenever we close registration, that's when all the materials go out to everybody because we know everybody who's going to be there.
Okay.
If you want it ahead of time, just ask. Just
Okay.
and we'll be able to send that to you ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm a planner. I try and get it all out of the way.
Ew, I have my list.
Yes,
I need my
I
list.
have to have my books ready and my pile ready to go.
Sounds good. Um, and Krishana, I see that you had a question about the pricing. I'm just going to share my screen really quick and I'll go back to that page so you can see that. And I was just describing that the self-study combo is watching a pre-recorded video that's self-paced. The virtual live is when you're on a Zoom like this, and then the in-person. So hopefully that gives you an idea. If you're interested in a specific workshop or a specific training module or program, you can find all that information on the website. But again, like just if you go to maternitywise.com and you ask a question at the bottom of the page and ask like, what's the pricing for this or that? They'll be able to send you a link to that specific program and they can give you that information. Rachel has a few questions. Does the cost of training include certification or is there a fee to certify in addition to the training course? This is a super good question. We try not to nickel and dime anybody, right? So you will become a member, which is a yearly fee. That's $79 every year, but your first year, the year that you enroll, is free. And then you'll do your training, whatever the price is that you pay, that's your price. And then at the end, when you do submit for credentialing, it's a $99 fee. And so we're trying to like break that up a little bit so that people that don't want to get certified, because we do have people that just take the training, maybe they're a grandma and they just want to take the training because their daughter's pregnant. We allow people to get certified later to find, to whatever program that they want to get certified in. That's the only thing that they're paying for. Does the cost of training, let's see. So for potential clients that reach out during our training, can we begin working with them? Absolutely. And you should, because you want to get at least those three evaluation. So those three clients you can do for free or low cost or full cost, whatever you want. And, if you're already a doula and you're already working in the program or the modality that you want to get certified in, we accept clients that you've been working with for the previous 18 months. So let's say I'm ready to certify today and I'm submitting all my information. Anybody from the past 18 months, even if it was before my workshop, I can still use them for evaluations. I see, I saw some.
Sorry, can you use them even if you weren't haven't gone through the training yet? Because my friend just had her baby maybe like a week ago,
Mhm.
and she asked me to be at the birth, and so I was there. And then now we've been kind of doing some postpartum stuff together. So if so, as long as they're within that 18 month, I can get the credentials from them. I mean the evaluation.
Yeah, and congratulations. And how fun was that?
Well,
So
it's funny because I have 5 kids, and all of my kids were C-sections, believe it or not. So my sister-in-law, this was a few years ago, she was going to have her baby, and I said the only thing I would ever want is to just be there for a birth, and that's like my dream. So she was like, "Come, we've been best friends since we were second grade." So she was like, "Come, come." So I went to her birth, and then after that, I just kind of like started going to my different sister-in-laws, my nieces, all these people, and so finally, my husband was like, "Why don't you just do the training?" So yeah, so I'm really excited about it. So anyway, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. That's really exciting. And you know what? This is the story of a lot of people, including me. I was the first one of my cousins, friends, and everyone to have a baby. And so supposedly I had all the answers, right? And so I was supporting people before I had ever gotten any kind of training. I mean, this is 30 years ago. There weren't a lot of training options out there, but I sought out training because sometimes you just find yourself called into this work. And so it's really beautiful that you're trying to get training and certified, make it official, because clearly this is where you're supposed to be. This is what
Thank,
you're supposed to be doing.
thank,
Your community has already recognized that about you.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I see that Rachel still had a couple more questions. So she said on some maternity-wise membership that membership was lifetime included and then also an annual fee. Yes, I'm very sorry. We're trying to make sure that the membership that says lifetime is no longer on the website. So if you have specific spots where you have caught it and found it, please let me know, because that does need to go away. This is new for this year, the membership fee. But along with the membership fee comes a lot of really great benefits. So, and like I said, it's free for the first year. Another organization she's looking into includes certification options for fertility doulas. Is that something Maternity Wise has as well? We are in the process of a fertility doula program, and it should be released by the end of the year. Super excited about it because it's really awesome, and I think you guys are going to love it. So hang in there. You will see that one come out by the end of the year. I'm thinking I'll have to ask Megan, because she's one of the people that is writing it. But I believe that it will be done probably by this fall. I think is her goal, is to hold the first training this fall. Any other questions, guys? These are really great. I'm so glad that you were able to write all that out, Rachel, because I feel like those were important questions for everybody. So if nobody else has any questions. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. If you think of other questions after this, please do get in touch. We are happy to help you guys, and I would love, love, love to see you all in trainings. Um, I will send out a follow-up email to this group with links to the virtual training and to the training events. Actually, you know what? I'll just send one that has the training events page. In fact, you know what? Let me grab that for you guys right now, and I can plug it into the chat. So first, let me do this one. This is the self-paced. It's a link to give you more information on the self-paced program. And then the training events page is going to have everything that you need. You probably were already there because you signed up for this day. But this is our training events page, and this has the virtual events as well as free events. Like we have a racism talk coming up, I believe, Thursday this week. We do that quarterly. That's a free event quarterly. We also talk about narcissism in healthcare, and we have that as a free event quarterly. And I believe on there has all of our local events as well as virtual events. So yes, Rachel, you had a question about mentorship. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I know I have a ton of questions. If we do the online self-study or one of the virtual training events, but there are like maternity-wise doulas in our area, like I'm in Boston. I see that there's a training on the Cape in a few weeks, which financially we just can't make work. And so like would I potentially be paired with a mentor that's local, even though I am doing like an online or self-study program?
Yes. So if you wanted to be paired up with somebody that's local, let us know that, because otherwise, so Shayla is the one who typically will pair people up with their self-study mentor. And if you want someone that's close to you, we will find somebody that's close to you. I believe we have a mentor in, does Cozy Corner sound like an area you recognize? I think she's in Massachusetts or Connecticut. She's probably the closest one to you.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar off the top of my head, but could
Okay.
be.
I think she's outside of Boston, maybe like an hour, hour and a half.
Okay.
But she would be a great, and she does mostly postpartum, so she would be a great connection for you as well. All right, so I see another question here, and is it Sharima? Is that how I say your name? I don't want to get it wrong. I know you said it earlier. Okay. So, thank you for that. So, Sharima, you asked how long from start to finish is the program? And that is a great question, but it really depends on you. So, if you do self-paced, it will be as fast as you get through it. If you do a workshop, you have that weekend and then you still have other assignments. But let me share screen and I'll show you the kind of the timeline again here. So how long will it take? Your workshop is a 27-hour workshop. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you're watching it as the pre-recorded self-study, self-paced workshop, it's still 27 hours, but you get to break it up, obviously start and stop whenever you're able to. And then typically if you're doing all three, labor, postpartum, and lactation, your reading hours are going to take you probably 60 to 7 hours, depending on how fast you read. I know a lot of people who will use like audiobooks or even something called, I think it's called Natural Reader. And that you can get some of these books like on ebook and you can just let it read to you. And that helps. And then your writing, depending on how quickly or slowly you want to get through that, your writing work is going to take you between 10 and 15 hours. So hopefully that answers your
And
questions
how
there.
long do we have to complete the whole, like all the training? What's our
Yeah.
window?
Yeah. So most people get it done between 2 and 3 months. And that includes like waiting for people to give birth. Usually, if you're putting time into it every day, you can get done with all of the written assignments and the reading assignments within a month, probably. But you're going to be waiting on people to deliver unless you're using people that you've already worked with. But you do have up to 18 months to complete everything. If you need more time than that, which some people do, and that's no judgment, that's perfectly fine. If you do need longer, we do allow you to pay for an extension, and the extension is 6 months. The reason why you have to pay for that is because sometimes there's updated information that you're going to get, and you'll have to jump in with the new information. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I ask one more question?
Sure, go for it.
Um, for the testimonials, the program I'm doing is the one that has all of the different training. So I would need a testimonial from each area. Is that correct? Like the labor, postpartum, and the lactation.
Yeah, and what I typically will tell people is make sure you do all three with your clients
Right.
so that you have to find three clients rather than trying to find nine,
Yeah.
clients.
Okay.
And then Rachel, you asked, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Rachel, you asked, does the postpartum course cover topics like safe baby wearing and paste bottle feeding? Yes, it does. We don't go too deep into baby wearing just because that alone is like such a broad, big topic, but we do cover that. And then we also cover paste bottle feeding. We talk about that with medically fragile babies, with reflux babies, all those sort of things. Any other questions, you guys? Oh, another one popped up. Let me see. Retired master herbalist. Ooh, amazing. Natural approach to life. Love that. Looking to conceive a child with partner and would love to be able to show up for her as a doula as well as the ability to be a doula for my future children. I love that. My oldest just got pregnant and she was like, Mom, I need you. I'm so super excited to be, and she actually had taken my training during COVID. So that's fun because she was there for a client of hers. Um, this sort of thing runs in the family. Let's see. I'd love to know if there's a way to incorporate herbalism and spiritual tools into being a doula. 100%. We have a Reiki, sorry, and we teach breath work during our courses. Um, Assumed it's based on the doula's preference, but just curious. Absolutely. Absolutely. We go into, we talk about essential oils. We talk about, biofrequency therapeutic solutions. I mean, honestly, I just recently started using the Healy at births, and it is making a huge difference. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Healy. Um, but I just set that to root chakra and off we go, and moms feel super relaxed and very safe. So there's a lot of different modalities that we teach you about, and we want, obviously we want you to have natural tools, but we want you to understand how the natural tools play into a more medical setting as well. So we try to be very comprehensive in all of that. And you'll find that between the workshop and the reading materials and then the ongoing education, you're going to get a very well-rounded understanding of how the natural and spiritual things play into and marry well with the medical and conventional medical stuff. Because obviously, you can take whatever kind of clients you want. You can take only home birth, you can take whatever, only hospital birth, whatever it is that you like to support, right? Whatever you're passionate about. But it also is important to understand how, like, so for example, if you were to only take home birth clients, you will inevitably have a client who ends up transferring into a hospital. Now what? Right? And so we want you to be able to understand and be able to work with all the different modalities that can come together in a birth experience. Do the additional workshops have fees? Are they included with the annual membership fee? Some of them are included in the annual membership fee. Some that are a little more intense and intensive or give you a certification at the end, those will have for fee. Those will be for fee, if that makes sense. So during hospital births, do doctors contradict? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. And we give you the skills on how to be very diplomatic, not argumentative. But again, this is why it's so, so, so important to be able to prepare your clients ahead of time so that they know what's coming and what outdated protocols might be recommended or different things and how to, and you will learn and understand how to navigate that and how to help your clients to navigate that. Anything else, guys? And honestly, Sharima, that's probably one of the hardest parts of our job is to be able to, interact and be able to say the right thing in the moment and be able to kind of, help equip our client. But again, preparation is so, so, so key. Any suggestions on the appropriate if you are fully off grid as I am with the earth and all aspects? Oh, I love that. Can I move and see, like, can I just be your neighbor? I was just saying this morning, I was like, this is one of those days where I wish I was just out herding a, little flock of chickens. But yes, you will be able to incorporate all of this. We have people that are completely off grid that work just within their community. We have Indigenous women that work within their tribal, you know, their region and then their groups. And unfortunately, Indigenous women are so at risk. Black women are at high risk. Indigenous women are actually at higher risk than Black women are when it comes to maternal mortality. And so it's really, really important to be able to give you guys skills to take back to communities where you're using them. Our program is actually used in a birthing school in Botswana to help equip women who are literally walking for days and days just to come to the school and taking that information back and working with them, working with their communities in areas where there's no technology to be used. There's no hospitals to be used. I have a doula student that I have in my mind right now who works at it's a facility, it's a medical facility, but it's in the mountains in Mexico, and they don't, like, sometimes they don't even have electricity, sometimes they don't have running water. So there's ways to support, communities like that and being able to do all of these things hands-on, understanding, because the most important thing for a doula is to understand how is the body working, right? The world has been peopled, guys. We don't need technology to do that, right? And the body knows. And one of my favorite things about being a doula and one of my favorite things about teaching is teaching you guys all the survival mechanisms that are built into the physiology of birth. Because we don't, in a hospital setting, the mindset is we can do whatever we want to because we also have ways to save you when those things go wrong. But they're not always necessary, right? And yes, thank goodness we have life-saving, tools and equipment and knowledge to deal with situations that, you know, otherwise we would need that technology for, right? But many times, unfortunately, the interventions that are unnecessarily used kind of create the scenarios that we need the technology for, if that makes sense. And so we want to definitely be able to equip you with understanding how does the body work so that you don't have to rely on those things because you probably are already all familiar with this, but when you add one intervention, it becomes a snowball of more interventions, and then more interventions, and then more interventions. And then, you got a client who's hooked up to every possible bell and whistle and tube that you can imagine. And that's not usually the way that people want to give birth, right? Okay, let me see here. Don't have neighbors, however, there's plenty of space. Oh, help out in the garden and the forest. I'm there. So let's talk. This is my dream, actually, to live off grid. But in the meantime, my purpose on this earth is to help educate doulas and to help you guys to get out there and do the best that you can do with the skills and the knowledge that you have to help your clients, no matter what kind of scenario that they find themselves in. I always say, like, okay, well, there might be some detours that we have to take along the way, but the end result and the end destination remains the same. Do we review nutrition? Absolutely. That is probably a good chunk of the day one of your workshop as we talk about nutrition. We talk about how what you eat is what you are and ways to, not just with supplements, but ways to get all the nutrition that a pregnant mommy needs in order to grow a healthy baby and have, lowest risk possible when it comes to the birth, because our food sources are not always great at providing what we need, and our food choices not always great at providing what we need. And so to be able to really look at, you know, what does somebody need in order to prevent preeclampsia? What does somebody need in order to help them with insulin levels? What does somebody need in order to grow a healthy baby? These are the things that are important because they keep your clients from having to enter into that high risk group, which again is going to just introduce more interventions, which may have been unnecessary if they were getting the adequate nutrition and other things that they need. So, torn between self-paced and virtual, but nonetheless, you're ecstatic. Yay, me too. So, your business name is What Are You Eating? Oh my gosh, I love that. That's super cute. That is really great. So, as you guys are getting ready to decide what you want to do and how you want to proceed, if you decide to go with Maternity Wise, which I really hope you do, please reach out. If you look at what we offer and you think, okay, I want to do this, but I'm not sure, how it might play out in my situation, please reach out and ask those questions. Take a look at the website, look at the different ways that, the different pathways that we have available for you. But hopefully, our goal is to meet your needs. Our goal is to make you guys superstars. We want you to get out there and make a great difference, because if that's what you're doing, then you are helping us to create, the reality that we want as far as peace in birth and peaceful parenting and gentle, loving, family relationships. And we as, individuals, we can only impact who we can impact, right? But by sharing the information, sharing the knowledge, sharing the sisterhood that we have with our students, that just makes you guys much more effective, and you're able to get out there and affect and positively impact more families, and obviously above and beyond anybody that we could possibly reach. So if you have any other questions, I'm going to let you all go because we went over time a little bit, and I'm sorry, but I'm glad that you guys were able to ask the questions that you had. And if you have other questions, please do reach out. Starting out as just a birth doula, yeah, you could do whatever, you could take whatever pathway you want. You can start out as one kind of doula and add on. I always say, like, if you want to do it the most efficient way possible, try to do all three at once. And that the reason being is that, your families are going to want all of your expertise. And so when you have all of it, it just helps your families and it helps you in your business. All right, well, have a great rest of your day, you guys. See you again soon.